Hello, thanks. Hello. Live. Assalamu alaikum to everybody out there. As my normal, I'll start with Qul Sharif. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Qul huwallahu ahad Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Assalamu alaikum to all people listening, brothers and sisters. I hope you're all well. We've only got a couple more days left. In some cases one, in some cases two, but then the unfortunately might be three, you know. So yeah, let's see what happens today. I just wanted to say I'd like to talk about two of my guests, Alvina Ali, who's here with me at the moment, and we're waiting for Yusuf Shafi. He should be here any minute now, but I've got a lot of admiration for Alvina as a radio presenter and also as a charity worker and also as a wife and as a mom, sister and daughter. She does a lot of running around. She never gets appreciated for what she does, and I just felt that it was my duty as somebody who's been learning from her from it's third year now, isn't it? Radio Ramadan.
No, 5 years.
Have I been doing this for 5 years? No.
I think you came on the second year, was it?
Yeah. So oh my God, 4 years. Can you believe it?
4 years, yeah.
So learned a lot from her. I feel that with her guidance and her experience, I'm quite comfortable doing this. And it's been good fun. And it's a shame that we can't do this once a week, every week. And
We can do. We could be online. We could arrange that for you, Zahid, if you're so comfortable in that chair.
Well, you don't know. It could happen. But further ado, let's talk. Let's get Alvina to say hello. How you doing, Alvina? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. Thank you for having me as a guest. Bit intrigued why?
No, I think I've sort of highlighted that in my
You have.
introduction.
Mm.
I think was it Eamon Andrews? What was his name? The one who
This is your life.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
is this what it is?
This is your life. Unfortunately, the only thing that's not going to happen today is you ain't going to get
A red book.
well, not a red book and people turning up from about 20 odd
Years ago.
years ago and things like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but I am going to ask you a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel that people don't know you that well.
Really?
No, I think they know you as a human being that works hard, and
Oh, so you're going to actually get into the inner depths of
yeah, I
Alvina
do.
Ali, are
Yeah,
you?
yeah. I mean, into the depths of
Mm-hmm.
Alvina Ali, and what's made you what you are. Um, why do you keep going? What's that thing that keeps you going? And you know, at the end, we close up with some advice to people out there who want to be a prospective Mr. Alvin Ali or a Miss Alvin Ali.
Mm.
So let's crack on with this because we've got about just over 17 minutes
Mm-hmm.
before we have a break. So we know Alvina. I mean, I went to school with you.
Yes, we're in the same year, but
Se-
different classes.
different classes, yeah. We were, I do know that we were in the top sets.
Yes, we were.
So we know that much. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had some plan for us.
Definitely.
We're fairly bright. I
Mm.
don't think we went to the best school in the world, by the way.
No, we didn't, did we?
It wasn't great. Fighting teachers, beating up students, and
Yeah.
well, do you remember? It was horrible, wasn't it?
It was. It was a horrible environment.
It was a horrible environment, and I'm glad that somebody remembers that. So if I can move on from there, we know Alvina as a Radio Excel presenter,
Mm-hmm.
DJ Ashki,
Yeah.
and a great DJ you are being on the show as well.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go back to um, the earliest memories of Alvina.
Hmm.
What's the earliest memories?
My earliest memories, I know some people obviously can relate and go back to when they were 3, 4 years old, but you know what? I've got no memories apart from photographs. I can't visually sort of, visualize anything that I did or anything that I can remember. So my time going back was secondary school when we started off at New Hampton Road, Valley Park. Again, being brought up in a Muslim family, having really respectable parents and looking up to them, they were my guidance, really. My parents were the ones who have steered me into who I am and what I am today. And if it wasn't for their love, attention, guidance, I don't think I would have been here.
Yeah, I don't want to steal the thunder because it's your um, show in respects, but your I don't know your mum that well, but I
Hmm.
do know a little bit. But your dad was a bit of a role model because we've always seen him in the mosque,
Yes.
and that for me is a massive
Mm.
um, that's massive pedigree.
It is. Well, again, like my dad, he'd do anything for the community, anything to support his brothers,
Absolutely.
sisters, in Islam, and wider Muslim community as well, even back home. So I get all these traits from him, really, and also my mom, who was a housewife, who used to work from home, legally, can I say, because she was a sewing machinist. And my parents, what I remember was when I was studying at school, they would always say, you know, get to your goals, do what you have to. If you need any help, my dad even arranged tuition for me and my sister to do maths. And I remember Mr. Davies used to come to our house, give us an hour's lesson and things like that. So my dad used to go out of his way and do whatever he could to make sure that we had that education that we needed to move forward in life. And I'm so grateful to the fact that he thought about all these things, although he was working full time,
Yeah.
finding the time for his children, sitting with us, you know. And I think from his guidance, I remember even we weren't allowed to watch TV, too much of it, and we used to have black and white TVs then. And the only thing that we could watch as soon as we come back from school was just the children's programs or the news. We weren't allowed to watch anything else. But now, obviously, times have changed and people are what? Oh, you need to put your fader up.
It's up.
It's not showing, is it?
No.
Oh, right. That's
Okay. Are
strange.
we live? I know
Let me check while I do that. But you want to carry on talking while I.
recorded show. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but basically, yeah. So I mean, your dad was a bit of a revolutionary because at that time, who would have thought of doing tuition?
Yeah.
At that time, you know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, Zahid, when my dad came to the UK, he actually enrolled and went to Bilston College to better his English and things like that. So, because he's experienced like what it was to be in education, even to learn English, and then what he wanted for his children and stuff. And Alhamdulillah, I can say that out of all us brothers and sisters, we've all done well due to the fact that, my dad, my mom gave us the attention and sort of steered us in the right direction.
Yeah.
Watching my mom being a machinist from home, that really hurt me because like it was all her blood and sweat, and she'll work all those hours just to get the bread and butter money in. And I thought, I was like studying, but then I had it in myself thinking, I can't see my mom sitting on that machine for
Absolutely.
hours and hours, and then just getting up to do the cooking, the cleaning, and everything. So, me and my sister in turn, it is going out live. So, me and my sister in turn, we were, you know, taking the responsibility of looking after the house and splitting the jobs amongst us just to help my mom out.
Well, I'm just going to stop you there. Yusuf, can you just say Assalamu alaikum?
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, thank you, Yusuf. Thanks for coming today. We are going to talk to you and you will be involved in the show. I'm just,
I'm quite happy to listen.
I'm
Actually,
just.
I'm perfectly happy with that.
So,
It's fine.
so Alvina, so from a young age, you've got a revolutionary father
Mm-hmm.
who, at that time, nobody in the community would have thought about tutoring their kids. He's doing that. Your mom's a revolutionary as well. She's working from home to
Mm-hmm.
support her husband
Yeah.
and to make sure that the kids are going to get a better life. So, you think about that logically now. That's actually putting a lot of good substance into you, isn't it?
It is because I used to see my mom as a role model, and I used to love the way that she used to carry herself about, totally being independent, not relying on my dad, but actually supporting my dad. So with her working, I got that ethos of like, when I finished school, I wanted to progress because what my dad didn't want us to do was to do our education and get on the dole in those days. And
Absolutely.
he used to say that I don't want any of you children claiming dole money. He goes, I want you to work hard. I want you to get your prospective jobs, and I want you to earn a halal living, right?
Yeah.
So, and when we used to tease our dad, we used to say, Dad, it's taxpayers' money. We're just getting what you're giving back, coming back to us if we have to sign on. He goes, No. He goes, I'm not allowing you to sign on. If you find a job, fine. You don't need to sign on to get this money. God will make a pathway for you to,
Subhanallah.
you know, to help you get onto the career ladder and things like that. So it's all that which my dad has instilled in us, and my mom being the role model in the house as a woman, um, you know, um, carrying whatever burden she could to support my dad, and make it easier for him. I think I've got those from my mom because my mom's a bit of a busybody. She will never
Yeah.
sit down.
She is
She's
actually.
always on the go. Bless her. She's always on the go.
I think. Don't you think a lot of our moms from that era are like that because they all had a lot of kids
Yeah.
and they had to, our fathers were all working at different times. Do you remember the morning shift, the night shift, and
Yes.
the,
Yeah.
whatever shift,
Yeah.
afternoon shift, and the moms were looking after us,
Mhm.
sending us to school.
Yeah.
Um, I think most of us, we were so grateful, weren't we? Yeah, but
Mm.
again, I don't want to steer off
No. No.
from what
No.
we're discussing. But
Yeah.
coming back to yourself again, um, you've got some good ingredients in here from mom and dad. Then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, the next time I see you, you're DJ Aski,
Yeah.
right? And how long have you been doing that?
That I have been doing now for more than 20 years.
I mean, that's once a week for 20 years.
Yes.
How do you keep? I mean, what keeps you going for 20 years?
I think I'm a busybody just like my mom. And when you got a passion for something and you
Yeah,
really enjoy it, you just want to carry on doing whatever interests you have. Now, obviously, DJ Ashki, Radio XL is just one of the things that I do. And what I found about
What else do you do if you don't? I know you do some charity stuff.
Yeah, so my full time job is obviously working for Wolverhampton Homes. My role there is basically energy and climate change officer. So basically, what I tend to do is I navigate to the complex terrains of housing stock and management, and that's looking at renewable technology, and that's working with the University of Wolverhampton and trialing out some pilots. And seeing what we could do to the housing stock of Wolverhampton. So that's
Yeah,
one of the areas. So, as a climate change officer related to energy, I also play a very pivotal role as well um, in not only just doing the pilots and programs which are aimed at enhancing sustainability in Wolverhampton to our housing stock.
yeah,
I also do home energy visits where we can see and we can help our tenants, and that is when I was going out to people's homes. I was seeing how they were living, how they're coping, how they're not coping, how they're falling into fuel poor, um, sort of getting
yeah,
themselves
yeah,
into
yeah,
poverty.
yeah. Makes sense.
And so I used to do what I could as part of my job, but I used to extend that extra mile to try and see what I could do to help them get back up on their feet, or see
That's
what.
you know what? That's typical of our generation. And there's example of 3 years. I'll do that. You and Yusuf, I know, does the same as well.
Mm,
You know,
mm.
again, what's that? What is that ingredients? What is it? What sets us out? Come on.
What's that's what?
What sets us out? You know, why is it that we don't see that now? You know,
You mean the charity aspect of it?
not just the charity aspect. You as a human being, what is it that makes you stand out? Because if you look at the youngsters now, they haven't got that, have they?
Yeah.
So what is it?
So what stands me out from doing what I
Yeah,
am doing?
yeah. What is it?
I think basically for myself, again, it's all down to education, isn't it? It's again the bit that your parents give you as well. Because my dad and my mom would do anything to help and support people, and that's where I got that trait from. Not only will they help and support people here, especially the mosque as well. That they've done so much when when we were little, we were going to mosque, and like you says, my dad was a pillar of the community, and bless him, he still is.
Still is.
He'll still carry on doing what he can, and I think I've just picked that up from them, and I've just like gone. And when I go into people's houses and I see them suffering from poverty, um, and I try and see what I can do for them, maybe a food parcel, or try and see how we can help them with their heating
Yeah.
costs and things like that.
Mm.
And then once I revisit them and see how they are, they've settled in and everything, they started calling me Angel. Oh, you're an angel. Oh, we couldn't have done this without you.
Okay, okay.
So do you see where I'm going now? So
I do know. Okay, so what's the charity called?
Secret Angels.
Okay, okay. So that's where you got that concept from.
Yes.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, I mean, like obviously when I go out to people's properties, or we've set the food bank, we do the digital inclusion as part of Secret Angels. We also do the Java Joy project, which is obviously trying to get people out of isolation. I had women sitting saying to me, "Look, we're at home. We're amongst the four walls. I'm even scared now to go out. I don't want to go out. Oh, please, Alvina, can you set something up? Can you set something up?" So once I heard that, and one particular lady, I like to mention her name, is Maureen Wesley. She was the one who was in that sort of predicament, and she kept begging me and begging me and begging me. And I says, "Look, Maureen, I'll try and see what I can do." But I used to go down. I used to visit her. I'll sit down out of my own time. I'll go and have a tea, coffee, and stuff. And she really liked that. So then along came the Java Joy project, which we are doing at Bob Jones Community Hub every Friday from 2 till 4. And
Okay.
we also are at Park Village Education Centre,
Yeah, is
the
that
place that Yusuf runs, yes.
okay? Yeah.
So
Well run project that, Yusuf. Yeah. Sorry, Alvina.
So we do the Java Joy project there every Tuesday between 12 and 2.
Brilliant.
And it's whatever we get, because anyone who cries out in the community and says we need this doing, we need that doing, Secret Angels are there, and that's where obviously the name came from. And then it's nice to hear from parents who see me out and about. We've had people coming to do work experience for us, and the children go back, and they go, "Oh, Mom, I've learnt this. Oh, I've done this today," or "Oh my God, I didn't realise there were people out there who are in this sort of situation." Even homelessness and things like that. So once they actually physically saw that with their own eyes, you won't believe this, but the kids were saying, "I'm going to get my education done. I'm going to make something of myself." And then you get parents telling you, giving you that feedback.
That's amazing.
And you think, wow, not only have I paved a way for somebody to carry on with their
You've
education.
been a role model. You've been a role
That's
model.
it. I was going to say, they are saying that I was an inspiration to their children, that you're a role model with what you're doing, and just keep doing what you're doing, and that's it.
Do you know what? I was trying to get something out of you, and I think I'm not sure if Yusuf's looking around. Looks a bit tired actually. But what it is
Long day at work.
I also believe that knowing you for the last 10, 15 years properly. I mean, I've known you since we were kids at school.
Yeah.
But knowing you properly, I also believe that you missed a massive word out that sort of encompasses you, which is desire.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I think you've got a tremendous amount of desire, as Yusuf has, to do things within the community to help and succeed.
Yeah.
And I believe that a lot of us, from our generation, are actually, start with that word. And I just feel that something that we're going to come on to a bit later on
Mhm.
after the break because we've got just over a minute to go. And I want to thank you.
Mhm.
I don't think that 15, 20 minutes has done you any justice. I still believe that we can talk a bit
Yeah,
more.
no worries.
But
Yeah.
I want to bring Yusuf in because I think it's fair that he says a bit. Now Yusuf Shafi, he's got the education centre on Cannock Road. He's really worked hard with that. You've got just over a minute just to give us a little bit of insight on what you're doing and what's going on. Then we'll talk about this after the break.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, thank you very
So,
much, Zahid, and assalamu alaikum,
Wa
Sister
alaikum salam,
Alvina.
brother.
It's always good to be on this side of the mic as opposed to that side. Right, where do we start? So, I think we can talk a little bit more really if you have to, but you shouldn't really be too interested in myself. I'm here really. I think just to encourage yourself with your program, and think about
so political, isn't he?
some of the things that we've achieved so far through your Ramadan. I'm happy to talk about that.
Mm.
I mean, as far as me, I'm pretty boring and pretty mediocre as life goes. So we won't spend too much time on myself.
No, no, we will. We'll have a discussion
Okay,
because you and I are both teachers.
we are indeed. That's right.
The next segment where Alvin is a mom, you're a dad, and I'm a dad, and I want to talk about certain things about our youth coming up now and why they're so disrespectful. But we've got about 5 seconds, and then we're going to go into a break, and inshallah we'll see you back in about 6 minutes. Take care and God bless. Do I stop streaming?
No, carry on streaming.
Put the ad on.
Sure, I don't have to do that.
Let me just see why my light isn't coming on.
Yeah, because I've not. It's
I could hear you on the radio outside.
Maybe the bulb's gone.
yeah, it's probably the book.
I'll just leave that up. Leave that up. Leave that.
But then we're still streaming because I can't. I don't know how to transition.
Okay, put the ad on.
Oh, they haven't got the split screen anymore. Something happened. Don't worry.
Strange.
Do you want to turn that off
Just
then?
make sure you, yeah.
Yeah.
Just make sure that
I was
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Um, this is Zahid Shah. I'm back with my guest Alvina Ali and Yusuf Shafi. Can you guys please say salam?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alvina, say that again. Did I hear you?
I said, wa
Yeah,
alaikum
yeah, I
salam.
can
Ah,
hear
you
you
can
now.
hear me now, yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Okay, so just before the break, we've got about 23 minutes on this segment. Just before the break, we were talking to the infamous Alvin Ali, and she gave us a little brief insight into her career as a DJ for Radio XL. We've now got the not so infamous Yusuf Shafi. Right, actually, he's very infamous as well. Does a lot of work in the community.
At least I'm not notorious.
I'm notorious. Okay, so Yusuf is gonna. He's a shy guy, and he's just gonna have a little, you know, a little couple of minutes about yourself, what you've been doing over the last few years. Um, you've sent up this centre on Cannock Road.
I'll just
I've been in there.
start what
Yeah,
we're up to. Okay.
yeah. Go for it.
Bismillah. So, first of all, thank you very much, Said, for inviting me over. As I said, I was slightly confused as to what I was doing here and what it's all about, but I'm always happy to support, and especially your programs at Radio Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, over the years I've been involved with education. My career started off with me actually doing research. So I did my degree in science in biochemistry, and then I went on to do some research. And then after that, I got a job in Dudley College as a biology teacher. Alhamdulillah, I've enjoyed science. It's something which is that our mic going on?
No, it's mine. Don't worry about it.
And I enjoyed science, and I did relatively well at it. I often found that I could teach it, and people enjoyed it. When
Put your phone away.
could be the phones.
Yeah, it's interference.
And I stayed in further education. I never really taught in schools. I always thought it was danger money teaching in schools because
It is because I do that.
it can be interesting in schools. I've always taught in further education.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, I worked from Dudley, went off to Birmingham, and I worked there in a college as a curriculum manager. And then I moved off to Shropshire in Telford and worked there as a head of area. So alhamdulillah, I worked my way up in the world of education. I've always found it rewarding. I've always found it very, very
It is rewarding.
exciting.
I agree with you.
I've always taught adults, and that's been part of the pleasure of doing it, because when you're teaching people who really want to be there, especially in the science subjects, you find that people are motivated. They want to go off into university and do degrees in medicine and all sorts of different weird and wonderful things. And to be a part of that journey, I think, is very important. To be able to sit with people and work with people, and and instill the sense of the love of science. I've particularly found that very rewarding in my career. And over the years, I used that career to jump into a number of other things. And one of those things was I worked with Ofsted, I worked with Ofqual, I still work with Ofqual at the moment. And I support schools. I've done quality improvement and all sorts of things. My current role, I'm working for adult education in Wolverhampton, and I'm what is called a teaching, learning, and assessment manager, which is a fairly superfluous title, really. I spend a lot of time running around trying to sort out curriculum and supporting especially the maths team within adult education. And now more recently, I've got a remit to support family learning as well. So, alhamdulillah, I've had a fairly narrow, in the sense that it's been always in education, but within that narrow sort of within that sector, I've managed to do a fair few things and managed to develop, and it's always been interesting. Why do I do it is a very good question. I suppose it pays the bills is the first thing, but secondly, I think when you do any type of work where you feel you are doing something to support people, and most public sector work often entails that, it often involves that. When you are doing something which is supporting people, you can bring your deen and your dunya together. And that is something which many jobs do give you the opportunity to do, but a number of jobs don't.
Yeah.
You could be a teacher, but you could be a good teacher. And you could be a bad teacher. And so from that point of view, if you can actually fulfill your role, whatever that role may be, whether you're working in some type of role within the local authority,
What makes
or health, or education, or whatever. But if you could do that as an act of ibadat, as an act that you can actually
Yeah.
improve lives, then that makes that role that much better. And
but
I
but
try to do that as much as possible, but I don't know how good I am. That's the only
but
thing.
teachers do that,
I'll have to ask
and
my students about that.
no, no, I think teachers do that, and I think you are right. You get good teachers and you get bad teachers, and I don't know what's your definition. Forget the bad teachers. What's your definition of a good teacher?
I think a good teacher is somebody who can motivate people,
Absolutely.
and somebody who can get results as well. Get results for your students. If you can see them progress and see them achieve,
Yeah.
then that's the main battle, isn't it? Um, but teaching is to some extent an art. I don't think not. It's not for everybody. So if you were to ask me now to sell the world of education and a career in education, my advice to you, or my advice to listeners, would be first of all, do something else. And that seems a strange thing to say. I'm not discouraging you from going into it, but I do think it's always good to have a vocation. It's always good to have a job and a career and have done some achievements in the world of industry, in the world of whatever subjects or professions you may be interested in,
Yeah.
and then acquire skills from there and then come back into the classroom with those. Because maybe I did it the wrong way because I just left university and went straight into teaching. Um, did I really have the necessary skills and the understanding of science research and what's going on in industry to be able to then impart that to my students? Maybe I wasn't as good as I could have been. So, from that point of view, I think it's always good go into the world, see what you want to do, develop a career, and then if you've done 15, 20, so many years of it, then come into teaching and bring all of that knowledge and experience to them impart to your students, and that works better, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. I appreciate that. You've been doing some good work at your centre.
the centre runs itself really. We have good people like Alvina there, and she's very supportive in many ways. And Alhamdulillah, we've got a nursery running there as well now, and we've got a number of other groups who come in, local organisations who want to do their activities. And from our point of view, it's about making sure that the lights stay on and the heating works and the bulbs work. And apparently the bulbs don't work, do they? We've had a problem with one of the bulbs. So it's in a sense, it's not the work with the volunteers and the people who run the place there. It alhamdulillah, it runs itself. So I think it's one of those things really which is useful for the community because it means that the community are able to actually frequent a venue and be able to use that for their. I mean, I remember Zahid used to do your martial arts classes
I
there,
used to
didn't
do my
you?
self-defense classes
Yeah,
there.
you
Yeah.
used to do your
How long? It was about 6 months, wasn't it?
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. Yeah.
Krav Maga, that's
Yeah.
it. You
Yeah.
used to do good time back. You were doing that.
Maybe not a good thing mentioning that on this radio station, but yeah.
So, but you were very popular. I remember you had a lot of students coming over to your classes.
We did. We had a lot of
They
students, and
enjoyed it.
then COVID hit, didn't it? And
COVID
then
hit, then you
and
went
then
off.
it
That's
just
right.
absolutely smashed us. But Yusuf, thank you very much. We've got just over 15 minutes, well, more or less 16 minutes, and what I want to touch on is we were discussing this in the break was in Wolverhampton, more specifically the inner city with Marines and just slightly outside with Marines. There's been um, you, youths, young men, um, and a lot of violence taking place where you're talking about shootings, um, cars, you know, ram raiding into other cars and trying to really hurt somebody or probably get rid of a life. And I looked at this and it was a bit of a concern. And I had a few phone calls, and it's difficult to get involved because you don't know who's right and you don't know who's wrong because everybody's story you listen to, you know, it's their fault. It's not my fault. So what I've looked at and why I wanted both of you here today is we've got to be very diplomatic how we give the answers as well because we're obviously on a radio show. But I find that as a secondary school teacher, I find that you know young people in schools nowadays aren't as respectful as they used to be when we were at school, and I think a lot of that stemmed down to the fear of going home and your parents finding out that you've got a detention or something like that. I mean, I don't ever think, I think I only got one detention in 5 years, and that was because I wore the wrong socks, you know. Can you believe that? So Mrs. Hill, do you remember her?
I do.
She gave me a detention for wearing brown socks, and she put on there detention for wearing ugly socks.
She
And that
doesn't like the colour brown then.
she didn't like the colour brown. Thank you very much. She didn't, did she? Yeah,
No, it's supposed to be black, wasn't it?
yeah, right. So basically, I was put in detention for wearing the wrong socks. As a school teacher now, I'm putting children in for swearing at teachers.
Wow.
Swearing. I mean, I've had a 12-year-old tell me to, you know, get off, and you know what I'm trying to say. And it's like, I was shocked. And he called the parents in, and you know what the parents say? Mr. Shah, was that? What about you? Do you think it was your problem? Do you think it was your fault that she told you to get off? Right. So both of you, I mean, Alvina first. How do you find, with what I've just said?
I think working in the environment that I do, I think it's important to see why these children are showing such behaviour. Again, it could be to do with, well, I mean, like being disrespectful and stuff like that. It could be due to social activities that they might be involved in or they're doing. It could be anything they pick up from their parents, their home. It could be cultural, it could be psychological factors. It could be a number of things why an individual, a young individual like that, is showing some sort of disrespect. And obviously, there's things that contribute to it. Um, Again, the way the parents turned it round on you, obviously, the child swore, and they turned it round on you, thinking that you might be the person who might have influenced that person to say what they did, but we don't know what's going on in the backgrounds of the children not being in school. Whilst in school, I suppose you could see who they are and what they are. And obviously, they might have a bit of respect. But behind the scenes, when they're out of school, you don't know what your children are doing, who they're mixing with. Um, are they going straight home? Because
Absolutely.
as we as individuals, as soon as school finished, we were going home, straight home, no dilly dallying. My parents used to make us come home for lunch.
But you know what? Don't you think that I'm coming to you now, Yusuf?
Okay.
Don't you think we had that spider sense though?
Spider sense.
The sixth sense.
Okay, right.
Yeah, I call it the spider sense. You know, that extra sense where you knew I ain't gonna go down there because I'm gonna get myself in trouble.
Okay. Just following on that, and I do agree with what Alvina said. I mean, nobody is born, no child is born a hooligan or disrespectful.
Absolutely.
We are all products of our environment.
Yep.
And the environment we get is the environment we will then express, and show the world. What I would say, though, is, and if you're talking about the past, the truth of the fact is there's probably just as much hooliganism and crime and deviance back in those days as there is now. The only issue was it wasn't policed as well. So a lot of people got away with a lot of things.
Do you know what? That's an excellent point.
So
I like that.
to say that the youth of today are all terrible. Well, some are, and some were in the past as well, and it probably isn't that much worse. What's changed, I think, in modern times, is that we've created a culture where families are a lot more separate from each other. So, for example, what you don't find as much is people eating together. It's a fairly common and simple thing
Do you know what? That's a good point.
But families will have situations where one has got their tablet and they're sitting over in that corner, the other one's up in the bedroom, and the other one's out, mom's in the kitchen, dad's watching telly, and they've all got their separate meals and they're munching away at things. What we're not doing is what we used to do historically in the past, is where everyone would sit around the table at least once a day, spend half an hour, 40 minutes, however long it takes to eat, and during that time talk.
Yeah.
And the problem is actually our generation, your generation, my generation, and I think Alvina, you're a lot younger than us, but certainly the generation of us guys.
Same age as me, Alvina.
a lot, we won't go there.
She's only 35. No.
So the point is that
Uh,
our generation is the generation who are second generation, third generation British. We speak with the same accent. We are able to understand the world of the UK. Our parents didn't. Our parents didn't in the same way. And we've instilled the modernity about it all with the kids. We've told, yeah, go and enjoy these devices, go and get into the pop music, go and enjoy this culture and that culture. And we haven't sat down with them and instilled culture from the sense of traditional middle class British values,
okay.
traditional middle class Asian cultural values. It's not about black, white, British, Asian, Indian, Pakistani. It isn't, really, it isn't. It is actually about sensible upbringing of children. And I'll tell you one thing, and I know you don't want me to go on too much, but I think our generation don't do something which our parents' generation did used to do,
What's that?
and that was tell our children that we love them. And that's a really weird thing to say, isn't it? Especially on the radio station, because if my children are listening, they're going to say, "Yes, Dad, you don't do that." But one of the things which
I do.
I think, and mothers do, and it's us fathers.
No, no, no.
It's us fathers. But you sit down your son especially, and your daughter. But we probably do it with our daughters.
Do you know
We
what
don't
that?
say to our sons. But when was the
We,
last time I you and I'm just as bad, I'm sure. Sat down my sons, alhamdulillah, mashallah, and say to them, "I love you," and give them that security.
do you know? Do you know what? I haven't, and even with my daughter, who I obviously love loads. I've always told her I'm proud of her. Yeah, but I've never told her I love her.
Now's your chance. You're on the radio. Do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on, then.
So
Okay. Zeni, Zach, Kubra, massive love from Dad. I love you all, and I love all my grandkids as well. Yeah.
So if you're looking at some of these kids and pointing fingers, there is an aspect of bad or poor, I should say, poor parenting going on there. And is that a sign of our times? Is that the fact that we're making money, running around
That's
in jobs,
so. That's
cost of living crisis,
so. That's a question.
depression, mental health, all of those things that
That's
we're not giving time to each other?
that's a question I want to ask Alvina now.
Mm.
Are South Asian, Pakistani inner city boys, and some girls are involved in the drugs game? And my biggest concern is that the parents must know when
Oh yeah, parents do know.
they
but
must know.
Yeah.
You know, can I give you an example? My eldest son, he's 28, and he was 14, and he came home with an Adidas tracksuit top that I didn't recognize. And I said, "Where did you get that from?" And he said, "Oh, so and so." And I said, "Get in the car." And I went and dropped it to the guy, and I said, "Get out, give him his top back." And the reason why I did that was because today he was wearing his top. Next day, he could have been carrying his pouch, which had drugs in there. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I tried to stop that from happening, and I said, "Look, if you want a top, let's go on the weekend, and I'll get you a top." I might not have been able to afford it, but the question asking you is, kids now, they're going to school and they're selling drugs. They're from our community, and their parents know. Why aren't they doing anything?
I think what it is. I mean, to be fair, I have seen it myself, where the parents will cover up for their children, irrespective of doing something bad, but they don't want the word to go out and let people know that their son or daughter is in any sort of or doing any sort of activity. I think it's to
Is that
keep
right or wrong?
is to keep their
Is-
self-respect, really, isn't it?
Is that right or wrong?
It's wrong.
Okay.
It's
So
wrong that if their son and daughter are actually doing something.
What do you think? We will come back to Alvina. Is it right or wrong?
I think it is wrong. However, I think there is another aspect of it.
So what's the caveat?
The caveat is I think they are scared. They are worried that if they incriminate their children,
Let's get back to Alvina.
they
now.
will end up in the system, and the system will then lead them down. I mean, going to prison nowadays, you end up as a bigger criminal coming out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Coming back to you. Sorry,
Yeah.
Yusuf.
no, it's fine.
So again, I don't know really whether we can blame parenting styles for them protecting their children because they're giving them a bad lesson, aren't they? they're teaching
Of course,
them
yeah, yeah.
they're
But I'm
teaching
saying,
them to not
yeah.
only lie but to hide what they're doing. And I think that's wrong. I think if a parent sees that their child is out of line, I'm going to use that term, that they should sit them down, scold them, tell them. And I think sometimes parents are scared themselves. They might be telling their children, this is not right, this is wrong, what you're doing. They'll tell them in such a way, in a polite manner, hoping that they will change. But will that person change? No, because behind their activity, they're gaining a lot more. Like you says, clothes, it could be money, it could be anything. So once they've got that addiction, they're going to carry on. It's very hard for somebody to come out of that game to then
Absolutely.
not, have what they've got basically.
Oh,
And
can I
Yeah,
sorry.
go on.
just jump in because something just occurred to me from what you were saying, and I heard a very wise man tell me many years ago. There's two things you need in your life, and either you have one or the other, and either way it works. Either you need the love of God, or you need the fear of God. And if you have the love of God, you worry about what you're doing, and you worry about your actions and the intentions of your work. And if you have the fear of God, you equally worry. You think, I'm not going to do this. So, because either it's wrong inherently and I'm not going to do it because I love God and I need to be good, or you think something's going to happen to me. Now, one of the things we have lost in our communities is a true understanding of our deen.
Mm,
We haven't, and I think our generations were brought up with that from our parents, and their deen was a lot stronger. We haven't been able to
Do
inspire our children in the same
do you
way.
know what? Our fathers, their deen was stronger because when they came here, they had to have a strong deen.
Hmm.
Because I'll tell you something else. I was talking to somebody our age, and he said, "Oh, I've done this and I've done that and I've done this." And I said, "Listen, can I just say something to you? Don't take this in the wrong way. You know, the foundations our fathers put down.
Without a doubt.
We haven't even put a brick on it yet.
mm.
So
Yeah.
don't give me that rubbish. Yeah,
No, I think I totally agree with what Yusuf has says,
absolutely.
that our deen is there for people to follow and keep them on the straight path, right? But what I have seen is boys or guys who do go to mosque, pray, and they're doing that stuff behind the scenes, thinking God's not watching. I don't know, but I don't understand that logic.
What's happening is all the mosques, the bigger ones in Wolverhampton when they have functions, it's always the cream of the crop that turn up to those functions.
Mm,
And you two know what I'm talking about. And the thing is unfortunately, um, people look at excuses to do wrong, and there's senior people who are guiding these people to do wrong, and they're saying, "But you know what? Don't worry about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you do your prayers to God, but you do this because look what the God did to our country," and that kind of thing. So they look for an
mm.
excuse to do something which is inappropriate.
Well, I mean, that's absolutely terrible if that's what they're doing. I just wanted to add one
I've
thing.
got I've got 30 seconds,
Okay.
10 seconds. Go on, Yusuf.
Well, I just wanted to say drugs kill. And
Mm.
if people think that working with drugs or dealing with drugs in any way at all is somehow going to be okay, it isn't.
10 seconds, Alvina.
I think policing is important because we don't see enough presence of them. Obviously, people are getting away with murder.
Guys, that was a great interview with the two guys, Alvina and Yusuf. Hopefully, inshallah, we'll speak soon. Take care and God bless. Say hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Alvina. Okay. Hello, guys. This is 87.8 FM, Radio Ramadan Walls. It's me, Zahid Shah. Uh, we, I thought I'd finished the show, right, but I've still got about another 23 minutes to go. And I'm glad I have, actually, because me, Alvina, and Yusuf Shafi here, Alvina Ali and Yusuf Shafi, have been superb in supporting me today. And just before we went off, we were discussing issues within the inner cities amongst the Pakistani community, and more specifically the boys. We shouldn't discount the girls, but at the moment it's the boys. And Yusuf Shafi was saying something interesting before I cut him off.
Yes, thank you very much. So, yeah, in a sense, what I was talking about just before the break was the importance of, I think, instilling values in our kids, and especially with regards to the whole issue of drugs. Because one of the things that I often speak to my students about, and you do find it in further education, people bringing drugs in and all the rest, and certainly my own children at home, is that drugs are murder. When you put a child on drugs, you literally destroy their life. It leads to all sorts of different sociological and mental health issues. It leads to financial problems. Obviously, it's a crime, so they end up in prison. But the addiction of drugs destroys your health. And most people who are involved with drugs, either as takers or pushers, or either way, will die within their 20s. So it's not something that you should say, I'm just getting some money out of it, I'm driving a posh car with it, I'm being able to, buy fancy goods and whatever. You are committing murder. And if you think of it like that, and if you have that fear of God, or that love of God, either way, you don't touch it, you don't want to go there.
But do you know what, Yusuf? There isn't a fear of God. That's a big problem. There's no fear of God. These kids are Muslim by name. They've got no fear of God. They turn up to a mosque, and they're still doing all this stuff in the community, and they turn up in the mosque. They get accepted in there, in the mosque, which is, I haven't got a problem with that, because it's a house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because they get accepted, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Now, if somebody stopped them and said, guys, you come into the mosque, we all know what you're doing. What you are doing is wrong. It's inappropriate, and you're ruining lives, and not just that, but you're ruining your own lives. What do you think, Alvina?
But the thing is, you see, for someone to speak up and know that these people are doing wrong things, they might feel scared, they might feel intimidated,
Absolutely.
they might think if they speak out that they're going to become the target. And I think that is the reason why most of the community keep quiet. And again, that could be due to the lack of having positive role models. I know there's a lack of policing around, and there always has been. And I always say to myself, bring the UAE laws in the UK and everything will stop.
Do you know what? You'd probably get hung and quoted for saying that, but I agree with you, because when I went to Dubai, this is funny, Yusuf. Me, my wife, and my children, we went to Dubai, and the kids were quite young then, and they have these designer shops. They're all
Yeah.
underground and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Mm.
and this guy um, said, "Oh, do you want to buy a bag like this?" And we said, "Yeah, follow me." And we're following him. And then all of a sudden I realised, I thought, I'm with my wife and my kids here. What am I doing? And I thought, you know what? This could get nasty any minute now. You could get kidnapped. My wife said to me, she said, don't worry, this is Dubai. Nothing's going to happen here. So we went into this underground shop that they had. We bought the stuff, no issues at all, came out. And what you said is right. I mean, there's not, there's, I don't even think I even saw any crime there, while I was there.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
There's no dog littering. There's nothing at all, and people there are scared of the police. They are scared to step out of line. You will not see a fight anywhere. I mean, okay, they got nightclubs and stuff like that. Things are happening there, but you will not see a fight. You will not see people squabbling. You will not see a person hit a taxi driver or not pay them and run off and things like that. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the government here in the UK, they wait for something to happen before they put the laws in or they do something about it. They seriously need to start putting something into practice right now to let people know that, if they're putting out a certain law, that is going to get followed up and it is going to get addressed. What I find now is that the police is there, you call them for an incident, oh, here's a crime reference number, but they will not investigate it. I mean, okay, there's lack of resources. So why are you sending why is the government sending all these billions of pounds to other countries to support them in whatever is needed for them, from what I've found out. And yet they're not thinking about people here in the UK where they could put that money into use and make our lives a bit better, help the poor, the needy, the homeless. But they're not doing anything, they're not putting any resources into any of these fields that are needed. They're happy to support bombings and other countries and things like that, which again, we've seen what Rishi Sunak's been doing, especially with the Rwanda
Well,
refugees.
I mean,
whilst I would concur, and whilst I would say yes, there's a lot of aspects we can look outside of us, our community and our families, and say that the police need to do this, and authorities need to do this, and that agency needs to do this. I do think we need to bring it back to home. The family has to be strong, and where you've got family breakdown, that's where a lot of these issues take place.
that's
I
a
was
good point.
I was doing a program just this week on fostering, and we had we were talking about how fostering is needed and why children end up in care, and we were talking about the three A's, and the three A's are addiction,
Yeah,
aggression,
yeah,
and adultery.
yeah,
Now, addiction is things like alcohol, gambling,
yeah,
drugs, nicotine, anything that preoccupies a person so they're not a part of their family. That's the addiction.
yeah.
And then you've got the adultery, where you've got the mom or the dad running off with somebody else and they shouldn't be. And the impact of that is that the children are being neglected.
Absolutely.
And then you've got aggression. And when you've got two or three of those, when you've got one, you may still have a running family. So, somebody's running off with somebody else and they shouldn't be. Adultery's going on, but the rest of the things are okay in the house, and the house carries on working, and the kids are brought up, and alhamdulillah, they become sensible, normal, safe human beings. But where you've got two of those A's, or all three of those A's, that's recipe for disaster. That's absolute chaos. You've got aggression, you've got beatings in the house, you've got arguments, you've got fights, you've got mom and dad hit each other's throats, you've got people on alcohol, people on drugs, and all the rest. And that family breakdown
That
results.
sounds like my family.
that I let him. And that
I'm
leads
joking, Mrs.
that leads to children rebelling. So what you are talking about with children who are going off on the streets, and why are they hanging around with people who they shouldn't be, and why are they getting involved with drugs and cigarettes and alcohol and all sorts of other things? It's because they're not getting the love and the care in the house. When they go to the masjid, please let me just finish with this.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
they go to the masjid, you end up with an imam sahib. Allah give them all jazai khair for the excellent work they do. May Allah reward them, because they are our backbone in our communities. But unfortunately, they don't speak English. The children go there, they sit there.
Absolutely.
The children sit there and they get in return a whole load of Urdu, which, to be fair, even their parents' generations don't understand. Some of
I
the
don't understand it.
There you go. So you haven't got the community from that point of view, telling them in their language, in English, these things are right, these things are wrong. Create an environment where everybody sits around the table and talks about their problem. Mom and dad ask the kids once a day, how was your day today? What did you do? Who did you talk to? Who did you go out with? How's your homework? How's your school today? All of these things are important. If the kid thinks mom and dad don't care, mom and dad don't know, and I can be having my chips around the corner, and mom and dad won't say to me, why didn't you come home and have dinner with us?
Absolutely.
That's where that's where the problems start, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm just going to address something that you just highlighted about the imams, and this was my own experience, and this was 2 years ago. And I'm in my 50s, man, and I understand Urdu okay. I'm not a scholar, but I can read it and I can understand it to an extent. And I was sitting in the mosque where I go, and the Mullah Sahib was flying away with his Urdu. And I was looking around, and this is Juma now. So I'm looking around, I'm thinking, I haven't got a clue what he's saying. I was picking up the odd word, and I looked around, and there was one guy, learned in there, who I said, I'm going to ring him later, right? And I phoned him up, and I said, you're the only one in that room who understood what he was saying, wasn't he? He goes, yeah. I said, why is the Mullah Sahib talking in such high level Urdu? Nobody understands. He goes, it's just for him to feel self important, a little bit of self importance, yeah? Do you know what I mean? But that guy, I remember there's a lot of elders in there who were older than me, right? Who, first generation, they were just nodding their heads, but they didn't understand a word this guy said. And he was speaking in Urdu. And my youngest lad, I took him in there, and he goes with me because I asked him to come with me to Jummah. And he says to me, he says, Dad, there's no point me going because I can't understand anything Mullah Sahib says. I said, just come and read Jummah. But you're right. If he can't understand what Mullah Sahib's saying, and then when they do the talks, so forget Friday, when they have other days where they have talks are in Urdu, and the kids are just sitting there, just, okay, texting each other, come on, let's go outside. And while the parents inside, they're talking about how to do the next deals in the outside the mosque. Do you know what I mean? So I completely sympathise with you there. But I want to ask you a question about policing. Um, what's happening with policing in our communities now?
You don't see enough of them.
You don't, do you?
No.
What are your thoughts on policing,
Well,
Yusuf?
it's policing is complex because, from a criminology point of view, does policing even ever work? Does the criminal justice system work? It's broken. You take these, as I say, if you have effective policing, you put them in prison and they
Yeah,
come out
but
worse.
yeah, but wait there. Alvina said, "I'd love to bring the UAE system here."
Well, you would, but then you'd have to have the UAE system in totality, and there's a lot of things about the UAE system which you, as a female, probably wouldn't appreciate either. So, you take one with everything.
I don't know
If we
about that
were,
because aren't
So,
they the
if
what
we
fem?
I'm basically
Wait there,
saying is that the law here is very soft
no, no,
on
but
criminals.
females are driving now in Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
so they are becoming lenient.
I mean, I'm all for it, but I think our society in the UK, the way we've been brought up and the way we are,
Yeah,
we have freedom of expression. We have a lot of liberties, and
We do not have freedom
maybe
of expression anymore. We've
maybe
seen
not,
what's
maybe
been
not.
happening with
But
Palestine.
maybe our liberties are a problem. But I think there's a way to which actually you can live your life and according to the Deen of Islam, and you can actually do the right thing without needing to be policed.
yeah,
It
It's
shouldn't have to be policed for these things.
mm,
If we look at our book, if we look at the Quran, and if we look at Hadith, there is so many examples that we can learn from, and that's our guide. We shouldn't need PC plot around the corner to be telling us this is not right and this
yeah.
is
But,
right.
but wait there. PC Plod has to get his finger out because you know, yeah, because what's happened is I know a young man in our community who was hurt, but he didn't. He was hurt, and it could have been a serious injury. It wouldn't have killed him, but he could have, been quite bad. So because he recovered from that injury, over the couple of months, they got a police. What do you call it again? The police code they give you. They give something on it.
crime reference
They
number.
gave him a crime reference number. Not even once was that that young man interviewed. On top of that, there was video evidence of the guy, the perpetrator, with his face attacking him. That was sent to the police. That wasn't even taken into consideration, and that guy was lucky not to be seriously injured. But the other guy was still walking around on the street. Now, can you explain that to me,
Yeah, I mean,
Yusuf?
obviously it's ineffective. Obviously it's ineffective. I'll tell you one thing, very very simple rule, and it works. And there's a hadith about this, that don't let your children go out after Maghrib. Now, Maghrib in the summertime is quite late.
Absolutely.
Maghrib in the summertime is quite late, but in the wintertime is quite early. But if you just adhere to that and you say to them, that doesn't mean you're going to sit inside and watch TV. That means we're going to spend time with each other. We're going to play games. We're going to talk. We're going to discuss. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about the family. We're
Do
going
you
to talk
do
about
that?
grandma. Not as much as I should.
But you
Not
do
as
do
much as I
it.
should. I'm a hypocrite. I think
Alvina?
I'll have to publicly admit that. Not as much as I should do it.
Alvina?
To be fair with our family, we tend to get together at my mum's every evening, and
Excellent.
we what we do is we have like a tea evening session where we sit together, where we talk. We will play
You
games
don't
as
you don't
well.
throw tea at each other, do you?
No, 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 no. I mean, we will sit and we will talk. My parents will be there. All of us will be there. The
Excellent.
children will be
I'm gonna,
there.
to be fair, I should actually add, we do always have the evening meal together. So everybody in the house
Yeah.
will sit around the table and have the evening
Mm.
meal. And that's a rule which I've said is has to happen in the house because we don't want people to be, come and share your day at the dinner table and talk about what's going on. So we do that.
Mm.
But I think fundamentally, we can talk about policing. We can talk about what everybody else can do. Take the responsibility, give each other time, give each other love. I think if families did that and really worried about each other and told them that they care about each other, often you care, but you don't say it. And you think, well, he knows. No, he doesn't know. He wants to hear it. Tell him, speak to him, engage with him. And then maybe he will think, you know what, mom actually bothers, mom actually cares, dad actually bothers. And then they won't be as likely to get involved in a lot of these things.
They won't. And I think the other thing is, how comfortable do our children feel talking to their parents?
Yeah,
You
exactly. The
know?
I
communication's
think
call.
I mean I'm fortunate on that aspect. I mean my youngest lad he just talked to me. Guys, 87.8 FM, Ramadan Radio Wolverhampton. My guests are the wonderful Alvina Ali and Yusuf Shafi. We are discussing some excellent points. I think we've got about just over 7 minutes to go. I don't think we've got enough time, but we're gonna carry on. So we were just talking about policing. Um, we don't feel it's ineffective, and I think Yusuf has touched up some magnificent points today
Mm.
about sitting around the table, having roti. And I'll tell you something. I'll put my hands up first. Um, this year, the whole year, the 11 months, we've hardly sat together apart from me and my wife. My kids never. But during Ramadan, we've sat down for sehri and iftari together. Yeah,
That's something, yeah.
and that just shows you that there's a being out there that has a huge influence on us not sitting together, and he'll do all his utmost best. Fortunately for us, well, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for us, he's still tied up for a day or two. Unfortunately, he can be released in a day or two, right? So what Yusuf Shafi and Alvina Ali are saying is that a strong family bond is necessary where we all sit around at least once a day, as Yusuf said, where you sit down and have a meal together, maybe a cup of tea, and have a discussion of how the day's been. And something else Yusuf touched on was, you know, tell your kids that you love them. And I mean, I've got grandkids. I've got 6 grandkids.
MashaAllah.
And mashallah, and you know, I think I tell my grandkids I love them. My children, I tell my children I'm proud of them, but I don't think that's the same thing, is it, guys?
No, it's never too late to start.
It's never too late to start. We've just got we've just got over 5 minutes to go, and I've got two very experienced parents here as well. What I'd like to do is we touched on something that I'm really fond of, and so you too, which was education. And this madhab that we love so much, Islam, it was started on the word Iqra, which means read. In the name of the read in the name of the Lord. Iqra bismillah. We all know that, right? How do we um, I want to go to you first, Alvi, and then to Yusuf. How do we engage our community to get this education as a forefront now? Because at the moment it's not, is it? It's at, how do we get, people like who will, your dad who went out there and got tuition for his children because he wanted his daughters and his children to be the best. You know, how do we bring education to the forefront now? What do we do?
There's loads of things that are being online, but then again, there's quite a lot of people who are digitally excluded, so they won't know about things like this. I know a sister in Manchester who holds these online sessions for people to, Islamically learn more about the Quran, the guidance that it gives, and like she uses real life examples as well. So I think there needs to be a lot more education, and whether that's done through mosques. I know the women have their study circles, but how popular are they? Are they attracting the right people? Because what you will find is there is a divide in the community. Certain people won't go to a mosque because of someone's already there, or there's all these little politics that are going on behind closed doors. So I think really to unite, we all need to come together, stop sort of seeing where these downholes are that need improving, and then try and get all the peers together, the community leaders together, involve parents and educators like yourselves, your teachers, and try and work together to sort of foster a culture of respect, empathy, and understanding, and try and bring the whole community together and not anyone feel a divide.
Yusuf?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with all of that. I think it's all critical, and the thing about education is you have to have a sense of pride in it. You have to have the masajids and the community celebrating the success of people in the community who are doing well.
Yeah.
When is the last time in a Jummah, at the end of Jummah, Imam Sahib has said, I want these 4 children to come up to the front because they got A's in their GCSEs, and well done. I want everybody to realise this.
Absolutely.
It's those types of little things. Why can't we have a name of students who have done really well and achieved good professional examinations and whatever in the masjid, so that we encourage other kids to say, well, I want to have my name on that board. It's simple things like that which will actually encourage the idea of working hard for your education. And one of the things I think is really, really important is get your children to read early, because one of the reasons why they do badly or they do poorly when they come to their GCSEs and their A levels is
Absolutely.
because they don't have the concept of opening a book. They just want to do everything on YouTube and everything wants to be online. And they don't read. They just simply need to have the love of reading and having books in the house. We don't buy books and put them in the house anymore. So many families don't even have a bookshelf. So I think it's those simple things that can be done to instill the value of education, so people realize that when I get these qualifications, I'll be able to do some work which will be valuable. I'll be able to achieve a career. I'll make some money from that career, and then I can actually use that career to do dawah work. I can actually go out into professional environments and talk about my deen, or just be myself, and people will learn about the deen of Islam. There's a lot of ways in which education can be instilled, but if you are worried all the time about making ends meet, and if you're stressing about going to the night shift and going to the day shift and running around after this, running around
Yeah.
after that, then all of these things, it's again, it comes to that time issue, doesn't it? Then thinking about your own kids' education is the last thing you think about, because you're too worried about sending money back to Pakistan. And if it's the last message in the last few minutes, don't send money to Pakistan anymore, because your children and your community and your environment here in the UK now needs you. There's too many people still sending their money back home, and there's real
Yeah,
sociological impact of that.
that's a topic on another day. We've
Mm.
got just under
You finish
just
at 5:30, don't you?
yeah, just under 50 minutes, 50 seconds we've got now, right? Yeah, 50 seconds.
So I think we should just summarize coming to the end of
Yeah,
Ramadan.
yeah.
And
Well,
wish all listeners Ramadan Mubarak, and may Allah protect and bless us all.
yeah, Alvina,
Um,
10 seconds.
Closing off. All right. Okay. So again, I think people really need to think about strengthening the family bond, and there needs to be more communication.
Okay, guys, I'll finish off. First of all, thank you very much to Alvina Ali and Yusuf Shafi on 87.8 FM Radio Ramadan Walls. Great show today. It's probably been my best show. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope everybody else enjoyed it today. I'll finish off with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna atwainaka al-Kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shaniyaka huwa al-abtar. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.